Good evening, everybody. We are ready to begin. The Planning Commission meeting is called to order. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted in compliance with the open meeting law. These proceedings are being video recorded as well as presented live on KCLV, Cable Channel 2. Please note customers of CenturyLink and Cox Communication can view this program in high definition on Channel 1002. You can also watch this meeting live on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV on the Go Vegas app. The Planning Commission meeting, as well as all their KCLV programming, can be viewed on the internet at www.kclv.tv/live. The proceedings will be rebroadcast on KCLV and the web the Saturday of the meeting at 10 a.m., Monday at midnight, and the following Tuesday at 6 p.m. Would everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Chair Cherry.
Present.
Vice Chair Quinn. Here. Commissioner Schlottman.
Present.
Commissioner Toussaint.
Present.
Commissioner Rausch.
Present.
Commissioner DeSalvio.
Present.
Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. I call your attention to the information printed in your agenda concerning our actions in the appeal and review process if appropriate. Please read this carefully, and if you have any questions, staff is available on both sides of the podiums. There's some agendas available if anyone would like to come up and receive one. Also, the second page of the agenda contains our rules of conduct. We appreciate you adhering to these rules so we can have a smooth meeting. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of any time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. All comments made under this item for specific action will be cross-referenced to those items. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak under this portion of the agenda? Seeing no one, we'll move on to item number. I apologize. You're welcome to come up and speak if you like. I'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Casey Curry, K-A-C-Y-C-U-R-R-Y.
Thank you, Casey. Could you pull the microphone a little closer to you? Thank you.
6228 Mandarin Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89108-702.
That's okay. We don't need the phone number.
Okay. Public comment. I want to ask first, though, will there be comment during the proceedings or only at this time?
There will be public comment. What item are you here for?
SUP-74623, PRJ74526.
Give me 1 second.
74526.
32. Yes, that will be public hearing, and it will be heard.
At that time.
Yes.
I appreciate you very much. Thank you for your public comment. I'm looking forward to having this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no one, we will move on. For possible action to approve the final minutes for the Planning Commission meeting of October 23rd, 2018, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the last 2 weeks ago's meeting. Thanks. What was the date?
October 23rd?
October 23rd.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor for the October 23rd meeting.
Chairman Cherry?
Yes.
I have a correction or perhaps an addition to the minutes on agenda item number 13.
Okay.
This was in my ward, and I did make a statement that I live near the proposed business and that I made the disclosure that I would still be able to vote on, and the record does not reflect that.
Okay, thank you. It's noted for the record. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Okay, there's a motion on the floor with the note from...
Chairman Cherry, just to make sure, so the motion now would be as amended by Commissioner Williams, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Let's move on to our housekeeping items. Excuse me. Are there any items that commissioners, staff, applicants, or members of the public would like to pull forward for action? Does anyone wish to speak on any of these items? If they wish to be heard under these housekeeping items, please come forward, or if any commissioners have anything. Staff, please tell us what they are.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting an abeyance for item 11 to the January 8th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. This is the second request for abeyance and is requested in order to hold a neighborhood meeting. The applicant is requesting an abeyance for item 12 to the January 8th Planning Commission meeting. This is the second request for abeyance on this item as well, and is requested to work out issues with the neighbors. And then the applicant is also requesting an abeyance for item 33 to the January 8th Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Vice Chair Quinn?
Thank you. I make a motion to hold item 11, 12, and 33 till the January 8th, 2019 Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries. Moving on to the one motion, one vote. The following are items that may be considered in one motion, one vote. They are considered routine, non-public, and public hearing items. All public hearings and non-public hearings will be opened at one time. Any person representing an application or a member of the public or a member of the Planning Commission not in agreement with the conditions and all standard conditions for this application, for the application recommended by staff should request to have that item removed from this part of the agenda. Item number 7, SUP 74464, applicant Chom Sa Hong, owner Gateway Plaza 31 LLC, for possible action request for a special use permit for proposed 1,904 square foot beer, wine cooler, on-sale establishment use at 7450 West Lake Mead Boulevard, Suite 2, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Item number 8, SUP 74539, applicant La Michoacana Market, owner Time Plaza, Inc., for possible action request for a major amendment to a previously approved special use permit for a proposed 1,325 square foot expansion to an existing 2,379 square foot beer, wine, cooler, off-sale establishment use at 1424 Northeastern Avenue, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Item number 9, SUP 74610, applicant Clear Channel Outdoor, Inc., owner Mini Masters, for possible action request for a special use permit for proposed relocation of existing 40-foot tall, 14-foot by 48-foot off-premise sign with the LED display on the north and south facing elevations, located at the northeast corner of Craig Road and US 95, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Item number 10, SUP 74640, applicant Cornish Pasty Company, owner BK Nevada Investments, LLC. That's interesting there. For possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed 7,508 square foot nightclub use at 10 East Charleston Avenue, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. I will make a disclosure that I live, I believe, just at the notification area for Cornish Pasty, I think just outside, so I will, it doesn't affect me in any greater or lesser way, so I will be voting tonight. Commissioner Schlotman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on item number 10, Cornish Pasty, I'm going to abstain on that matter, considering that I own a urban lounge within the notification area. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rausch?
Thank you, Chairman. I own a small apartment complex at the corner of Imperial and Casino Center, roughly 4 blocks south of Cornish Pasty. I don't feel that it affects my opinion one way or the other, so I will vote on the item.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay. Can we have a motion, Vice Chair?
Thank you. I make a motion to approve items 7, 8, 9, and 10, noting that Commissioner Schlotman will be abstaining from item 10.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, all of those items are final action this evening unless appealed to the City Clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to the public hearing items. Item number 13, SCD 74611, applicant owner PN2 Inc., for possible action on a request for a major deviation of the Summerlin Development Plan standards to allow a 27-foot residential adjacency setback where 75 feet is required for a 50-foot tall wireless communication tower use on 1.91 acres located at the southeast corner of Desert Hope Drive and Reverence Parkway, Ward 4. Staff recommends denial. Related item number 14, SUP 74612, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed single 50-foot tall wireless communication towers use located at the southeast corner of Desert Hope Drive and Reverence Parkway, PC Zone, Summerlin, special land use designation. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to construct a non-stealth wireless communications facility in the Summerlin Master Plan community that does not meet the required residential adjacency setback. A special use permit is required for all wireless facilities within the master plan area. Because the site is located within Summerlin, a major deviation is being requested for the setback instead of a variance pursuant to the Summerlin development standards. The tower will be located on a common element lot immediately adjacent to single-family residences within a residential subdivision. Staff does not support the request as the tower could be located elsewhere to meet the minimum requirements and is recommending denial. Letter of approval from the Summerlin Non-Residential Design Review Committee has been submitted by the applicant. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record?
Good evening, Commissioners. Chris Wenner with Spectrum, 4850 West Oquendo, representing the applicant, PN2 Incorporated, which is Pulte Homes of Nevada. What we're proposing for you, we're representing the next two items. It's basically for the approval of a 50-foot cellular tower to be located in the Reverence development being developed by Pulte in Summerlin. Reverence is it's west of 215, north of Lake Mead, and south of Cheyenne. The need for the facility is because there's basically poor to no coverage within the development. About 18 months ago, when Pulte was doing their big earthwork, they realized they could not take calls. They were having difficulty communicating. They contacted Hughes. We've been providing consulting services to Hughes on wireless communications for the past 10 years. So we started working with Howard Hughes Corporation and Pulte to develop a solution to get coverage into this neighborhood. As stated by staff, this has already been approved by the by the Summerlin Non-Residential Design Review Committee. That was approved in June of this year. We've been working in lockstep with both Pulte and Hughes since the beginning to develop this facility. The location was basically determined by where Pulte had common space available and where we could put a site that is going to provide coverage in the area. There's big terrain differences. It drops almost 700 feet from basically Lake Mead down to Cheyenne, and there's big elevated areas to the north and south which are blocking the existing coverage coming into the neighborhood. That's basically why there is not any coverage. Pulte, in an effort to communicate what they were doing with any of the future home purchasers, they added in all of their disclosure documents that a cell tower was going to be built in this location. In their sales office, they had two big display boards with the cell tower on both display boards for both neighborhoods marked with a big red box that said cell tower. So every one of the home purchasers or people moving into the neighborhood were very well aware that there was going to be a cell tower in this location. The design of the location was basically at the request of Howard Hughes Corporation rather than a faux palm tree or a faux pine tree, which there's some places where they fit, but when they're by themselves, oftentimes over time, they end up looking like eyesores. At the request of Howard Hughes Corporation, they said just put up a monopole. We view it as a necessary utility structure. People are more used to just looking at them, and the eye passes it. Where the site is located, it's abutting the 215 Beltway. There's existing NV Energy poles that run along the Beltway. So in their view, and at their recommendation, we did the monopole rather than a stealth facility. The two items before you, the first is for a major deviation to the Summerlin development standards. They don't have anything. Summerlin doesn't have specific code in their development standards for wireless sites. So this is considered a non-residential use according to their development standards. It does not meet the setback requirements of 75 feet. We're requesting a setback of 27 feet to the nearest residential property line, which is located to the north. And the second item before you is the use permit for the 50-foot monopole. I've got lots of backup and photo simulations, and we'll be happy to answer any questions for you. But with that, we'd respectfully request your approval.
Thank you very much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Please come up to the podium. Need your name and address for the record if you're for or against. and why?
My name is Tim Robish. I currently live at 6335 South Durango Drive, Unit 1101 in Las Vegas. I am in the process of purchasing a home in that development, and while the cell phone was, the tower was disclosed, and that information is part of our documentation, it was also explained to us that this would be visually pleasing and fit within the environment. Additionally, this meeting came to my attention while driving through the subdivision, and in the process of notifying everybody, I don't believe there was due process served to the public. I know the staff has recommended to not approve the movement. I think, a motion rather. I believe it is necessary for further investigation, further development, and better communication to the residents in the area. Many of the homes are still under construction, such as my home, and those homes may not have received something in the mail at the address. There were, I believe, 390 notifications sent out. If somebody had not closed on their property when that notification went out, they could be affected by it. There are several parcels still available for sale, and I would also submit, not being an engineer, that there could be other alternatives to explore for this that would be better visually pleasing and better fit in with the need for better cell phone coverage. So I asked the commission to not approve it and ask for further development and plans moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Robish. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no one else, I'll close the public hearing. I'll give you a minute if you'd like to respond.
We spent, over the course of 6 months, working again with Pulte and Hughes, trying to determine, it's in their interest to develop the least visually obtrusive facility as possible. We went through a lot of different iterations of different locations. There's a lot of open space to the north. From a radio frequency perspective, that's not going to work well. In the center of the development, where the clubhouse is, I don't know if you're familiar with it, it's a big giant hill. And this is several hundred feet lower. The radio signals aren't going to come and propagate accordingly. With the site located here, we're going to basically shoot in both directions, where it's then going to reflect off the elevation gain here and cover the homes to the back. The determination to put it adjacent to the Beltway, these were included as a part of your backup. This is from on the big map. This would be standing at the clubhouse location, looking generally straight east. In the background here, you can see the Las Vegas Strip. That's the site. It's the base ground elevation. It's a 50-foot tower. The base elevation of the site sits about 60 or about 40 feet lower than the base elevation of those power poles. Those NV Energy poles are about 100 feet in height. As you can see, it only goes up a portion of it. These photo sims are to scale. Visually, it doesn't take up a lot of space. They are not full antenna arrays. It's 2 antennas per sector, not the big 4 antennas where they're on the larger arms. They're going to be on shorter arms again, just to make it visually a little bit smaller. This is a location from one of the homes that was under construction. The home is located right here, so it's basically 2 lots away. Again, you can see it. It's visually going to be there, but compared to the rest of the development, and actually once the homes get built on these adjoining lots, it's going to obstruct the view of the tower from almost literally all the other homes except for the people who are directly adjacent to it. And again, those people have been noticed that the facility is going to be there, so anybody buying one of those homes is knowingly moving next to the tower. This is from a lot a little bit further down. You can see even as you move 5 lots away, it becomes a lot less visually obtrusive based off the skyline and the other existing facilities in the background. And this is the street which it's at the end of. All of these homes are framed up at this point. These photo simulations were developed several months ago. So really from this angle, the roof lines of the homes are about at the height of where that tower is. So the options were, we looked at putting in a water tank, which is physically takes up a lot more space. We looked at doing the faux palm and the faux pine. At the request of Hughes, they said, let's just do the straight up monopole. We feel that's going to be the least visually obtrusive thing there.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to the commission for discussion. Commissioner Toussaint.
Thank you, Commissioner. With respect to Mr. Robesh's objections, personally, I don't have a problem with this. I live in an area where our cell service is kind of spotty, and it's really important that people have cell service, especially when most folks now don't have a home phone. They're using their cell phone. So if they don't have proper service, it's not going to help them at all. I do know this area very, very well, and personally, I'm glad you're not using one of those ugly palm tree, stealthy pine tree things, because those are just really ugly, and they don't really hide anything. So you have my support tonight, and I welcome you to the community.
Thank you.
Commissioner Roush.
Thank you, Chairman. Through you, to the applicant, could you please show me on your development plan, the site plan, where exactly the pole is proposed to be? Because you've shown in the other exhibits, but I can't tell on what you're...
On this map, it's going right here at the end of this common element.
And are there homes on both sides of that? Thank you, this is better.
Yeah,
Okay, so if you could move the mic just slightly so we can see. So please point to...
So that's
Okay.
where the tower is going. There is, in this dots, this was an early version, the dot is not in the exact location, it's a little bit further over. It's 27 feet from this property line, and it's like 76 feet from that property line. So it meets the setback on one side. They felt that this is an expanded lot with a bigger backyard. The home won't physically be that close to it.
Are those homes sold yet?
They're being framed up right now.
They've already been sold to the ultimate owner, or they're under contract, or you don't know?
I do not know. All of these homes, most of these homes to the south, several of them have been sold and residents are living in them. This street, the homes are all framed up right now, and I don't know if they're under contract or not.
You know, I'm with Commissioner Toussaint in terms of this area has no cell service and it needs it. People rely on their cell phones for a form of emergency and daily communication. I get that. I think it's really tricky to try to find a way to put this in. I guess my only comment would be that the developer should be just a little bit more mindful of that and doesn't need to probably squeeze in that last lot and make it so close, and can probably just do without one lot and meet the setback requirements. So I will probably be voting no tonight because I don't think the developer needs that one extra lot and could get by without it. And I just don't like seeing that go in there so close to a homeowner and then have it be an issue in the future. So that's my position on it. Thank you for clarifying.
They had it mapped before this came along, so they would have to...
I understand.
Yeah, they would have to not sell that lot.
They'd have to not sell one lot, just one. Thanks.
I have a quick question for staff. If it's a 50-foot tall wireless, if they wanted to, years down the road, come back and put in a 75-foot tall tower in the same location, they still have to come back for the SUP?
Mr. Chairman, through you, yes, since the special use permit is required by the development standards, it would require a major amendment of this SUP if it's approved.
Okay, so it would have to come back okay. Okay, anybody else? Commissioner Toussaint?
I would like to make a motion to approve SCD 74611.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Item number 14.
Item number 14, SUP 74612, motion to approve.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, those items will go forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their agenda on 12/19/18.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 15, VAR 74595, applicant owner Neil Luke LLC, Series 15, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow 17 parking spaces where 25 spaces are required for an existing parking impaired development on .76 acres at 1094 East Sahara Avenue, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Related item 16, VAR 74912, for possible action on a request for a variance to allow an existing 6-foot wrought iron fence where an 8-foot solid screening device is required for an accessory outdoor storage. Ward 3, staff recommends denial. Related item 17, SUP 74596, for possible action on request for a special use permit for an existing building maintenance service and sales use, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to add outdoor storage to an existing building maintenance service and sales use. The addition of the storage requires the approval of a special use permit within the C1 zoning district. A portion of the parking lot will be utilized for the storage, resulting in a decrease in the number of parking spaces available at the site and requiring the approval of a variance. Development standards for outdoor storage include the requirement that such storage be screened from the public right-of-way and from adjacent properties by a solid wall or structure that is at least 8 feet in height. The storage is screened from the Sahara Avenue public right-of-way by the commercial building, but not from the adjacent properties. The applicant is requesting a variance to allow the existing 6-foot-high wrought iron fence to serve as the screening. Last week, after publication, the applicant submitted a revised site plan found in your blue sheeted materials indicating that an opaque fabric material would be attached to the fence to help screen the storage. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and staff is recommending denial of both variances as a self-imposed hardship and of the special use permit due to the need for the variances.
Thank you. Can you get your name and address, please, for the record?
Good evening, Doug Rankin, 1055 Whitney Ranch Road, Henderson, Nevada. On behalf of the applicant tonight, the applications before you were necessitated as a result of the property owner installed a wrought iron fence in order to secure his property. He's been operating here for 10 years. He services the RTC bus stops, has a contract with them, and has been doing such for 10 years. Once the wrought iron fence came through the process, code enforcement came out and said, you need a special use permit, so that's why we're here tonight. Our outside storage, it consists of 4 parking spaces that we utilize for our service vehicles, a trash dumpster, and a small shed that's under 200 square feet in order for cleaning material for that. And then we do have a trash dumpster on site that faces outside the area. The fence was put up to secure the property. There's a lot of homeless problems in the neighborhood. We have been working with Commissioner Schlottman. We met with him on site in order to review this so that he could give us some guidance on what we should do. We are screened from the public right-of-way by our large building. Interior here on the parking, this site is part of the East Sahara commercial development that was all done through parcel maps. So some parcel maps have cross-access agreements and parking, some don't. In particular, ours don't have, these 2 parcels don't have an access agreement or a parking agreement, where some of these parcels do, but some don't. It was kind of a mishmash of everything going on out there at the time in the 70s when all of these went through for approvals with these maps, and it created some problems with that. On site, we do have plenty of parking. If the building maintenance service goes away, then the outside storage goes away with it, and we would recover approximately 8 parking spaces back for this site. I can show you our service vehicles. Our service vehicles are just standard service vehicles, and they are parked in those 4 parking spaces that are being utilized as outdoor storage. I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, turn it over to the commission. Commissioner Schlottman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did walk the space, and everything that Mr. Rankin stated tonight was what he represented to me in person. This is, outdoor storage of 4 vehicles. I really don't understand why we're considering that outdoor storage because, it is our code, but they're gone all day long. They're there at night, sometimes at night if they're not out servicing different roads or the RTC. And this is one of those weird areas on Sahara and Maryland Parkway where if you're heading east or westbound on Sahara from Maryland Parkway, you get trapped in these little streets, and you got to go down about half a mile before you can actually turn and get back into the neighborhood. So anyways, looking at this property, it was nicest, most well-maintained property in that whole area. I don't have a problem with this, and if nobody else has, well, Commissioner Roush.
I see Commissioner Roush's light on.
Thank you, Chairman. Through you, I'd like to ask the applicant a question, please.
Please.
Mr. Rankin, and I apologize, I was not able to get back to you. I know you reached out to me, and my new job's been quite demanding, so I haven't really taken any meetings with anybody, just to be fair. But I'm curious, on the building, are there other occupants in the building besides the applicant?
There are other tenants in there. There's a carpet cleaning company that cleans carpet. They have a couple vans, and I believe there's another office use. And I'm checking with my client there.
And where do those folks park, by chance? Because
They park in here in itself.
they have access through the gate to park in there?
Yes, they do.
And
There's a gate located here and then one over here.
and it's
And the gate's open during business hours.
during, okay,
Yeah.
so, and that parking is sufficient for the uses that are in the building, or is it at capacity?
It's very low intense. There are office uses, like I said, and there are at different times, the carpet cleaning guys operate, I think it's a rug doctor or something like that, and they operate during the day or on the weekends. And then my clients are done by 2 o'clock because they start early in the morning around 2 a.m. in order to service the bus stop shelters, and then they're back in, everybody's back in and gone by 2 o'clock, even earlier sometimes.
2 in the afternoon?
2 in the afternoon,
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
Yeah, so, and then the other office use is limited also. It's not very much use.
In and out,
In and
alternating
out.
hours? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that was my concern. I mean, I'm always really cautious about parking and wanted to make sure that if it was a multi-tenant building, that there was enough sufficient parking for that, because you're asking for a parking variance, and that's always a difficult situation for me. But now that you've explained it, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Thanks.
And, Mr. Chairman, through you, if I may. Commissioner Roush, when I did go by the site, and I've been by the site a few times, and not all the parking spaces were full in time that I went by the site, but, and it's not only that, I mean, there's private streets, and there's a lot of businesses around here with, I mean, just tons of parking along the curbs, and parking spaces all over the place. And I mean, every time I've been out there, there's been like 75 parking spaces that are vacant. So I don't think this is going to be, I mean, it's not a big issue for me with the parking. And, you know, parking is a big concern, but it was one of my lesser concerns on this particular property. So with that, if there's no other comments.
I just have one quick comment. I heard that the applicant would put up like a construction-style fencing, or what do you call it, the mesh?
Yeah, the mesh screening, actually, and working with Commissioner Slotman, we weren't sure what looked best. Currently, there's a temporary screen that was one of the photos that was shown
Yeah, I saw that.
along here to kind of give you an idea of what that would look like.
I'll be honest with you, like, and they start off okay, but with the wind coming through, and they just start to tear up, and, I mean, you see it all over town after a good windstorm, and I'd hope that it doesn't turn into...
And we don't disagree if no mesh would be required, that would be fine. It was noticed as such that we are doing no mesh, but we were willing to work with the commission to mitigate that, but we don't necessarily disagree that mesh eventually becomes more of an eyesore than the trucks that we're screening.
Thank you. I'll leave it to Commissioner Schlapp.
Mr. Chairman, I do agree, and that was one of the points that I brought up, that, you know, if they put up mesh, then, you know, I mean, with the wind and everything else, it's going to get torn apart, and start decomposing over time. So I wasn't a big fan of that. One thing that I'd like to ask Mr. Gebeke, if possible, and plus Mr. Rankin, there's a excuse me, a chain link fence on the outside of the wrought iron fence, and I'd like to see that chain link fence come down, because I'd rather look at that wrought iron fence than that chain link fence. Would you all be agreeable to that?
Oh, it's
Your name and address.
Mike Keitlinger, 1094 East Sahara. It's all temporary. It's gone. It'll be gone.
Okay. Should we condition that? You said it's already gone?
No, not yet. We were waiting for the meeting to conclude.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, we don't need to, Councilman, or Commissioner, we don't need a condition that the temporary fence go away, because it's a temporary fence is supposed to go away. But what we will need to do is, because they have replaced their site plan that notes that it's a mesh screen plan, and our drawings say, we need to update that drawing to reflect that it's, if that is your motion is to not require the screening, then we will request that they provide us with an amended site plan that no longer notes the mesh screening, so that we just have an accurate record for the files.
Okay. Then,
And we can certainly get that to you tomorrow morning, Director Summerfield.
all right. So seems like you are agreeable to that. So on, Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes,
may?
please.
On item 15, VAR 74595, I would move to approve, subject to staff's conditions and based on the testimony heard tonight.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
And then on item number 16, VAR 74912, I would move to approve based on testimony tonight, subject to staff's conditions. Would this be where I would go ahead and make the amended commission, Director?
Mr. Chairman, through you, Commissioner, we don't actually need a condition here. I just need an updated drawing for the file. But we don't need it. It's noticed as the applicant's rep. It's already noticed as non-screening, so we just need to get an updated version of the site plan that doesn't reflect that.
Okay. My motion stands.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
And, Mr. Chairman, item number 17, SUP 74596, I move to approve based on the testimony heard tonight.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, all items are final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 18, VAR 74468, applicant owner KWS Trust for possible action request for required variance to allow a 42-foot front yard setback where 50 feet is required for proposed addition to a single-family dwelling at 416 Lacey Lane, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to construct an addition to the garage of a single-family residence that will extend into the front yard setback area. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and staff is recommending denial. Please note that there is an additional letter of support since publication.
Thank you. Is the applicant here tonight? Yes. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Hello, my name is Kyle Schroeder. I live at 416 Lacey Lane.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. Could you tell us about your application?
Sure. So I bought the house last year. It had been updated inside. You can see I'm doing a little work on the outside. I would like to put in landscaping and expand the garage. So I have 50-foot setbacks, and what I'm asking for is a 7-foot variance. You can see here. I just want to bump the garage out by 15 feet. So I'll still have 42 feet from the street. Most homes on my street are actually not compliant with the 50-foot, so it won't be out of character. And I actually think I'm going to make the neighborhood a little bit better by making it a little prettier. We need a little help on Lacey. It's gentrifying slowly, so hopefully this will help. I spoke to my neighbors. I have approval. I think that's what we were talking about. My neighbor directly in front of me sent me an email saying he supports it. Also was able to reach out to Mayor Pro Tem Tarkanian, and she supports it. So respectfully ask for your support as well.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone like to be heard in this item? Seeing no one, I'll turn it over to the commission. Vice Chair Quinn.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Schroeder. It was nice speaking with you the few times we did. As people know, Lacey Lane is a unique street. All the houses are relatively a little bit different, and the little 7 or 8 foot setback is not going to change my mind of what a beautiful home you're going to end up with. So with that, my motion this evening will be for approval.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that item is final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 19, VAR 74614, applicant owner Michael Canali, for possible action on a request for variance to allow a 0-foot side setback where the 3 feet is required and a 4-foot separation from the main building where 6 feet is required for an existing accessory structure at 8200 Ashcombe Avenue, Ward 6. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
My name is Erin Schwab, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I'd just like to take a moment to introduce myself. I just recently joined the case planning team, so I'll be presenting tonight and in the future. With that being said, this applicant is requesting a variance to keep an existing shed located within the required side setback area at 8200 Ashcombe Avenue. The existing shed is 0 feet away from the side property line where 5 feet is required and 4 feet away from the main building where 6 feet is required. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and staff is recommending denial. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication.
Thank you very much, and welcome. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record?
My name is Michael Canali. I live at 8200 Ashcombe Avenue.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us about the application?
I'm sorry, sir, I don't hear well.
No problem. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the application?
Yes, as you can see from the plan, we built a shed on the side of the house, started to build it, I should say. And I knew it was up against the wall, not a good, anywhere else good place on the property to put it. The wall, though, is a block wall, as most are here in the city, and that type of block wall has a 1.5-hour fire rating if you look into the code. I kept a low-profile roof on the property so it wouldn't bother the neighbors, and in fact, I have letters signed by all the neighbors around that they have no problem with the shed. There is no easement through that area where it would have to be torn down to allow for passage of piping or electrical or anything else in that particular area. As far as the setback from the house, I understand separation and the fire requirements. As I had made clear to the people at the planning department when I went in and spoke with them in the pre-meeting, if need be, I'm willing to go in and I will put a 1-hour fire gypsum board rating on the inside of the building, of the storage shed. The only thing we're storing in here is my wife is a tax accountant, and she has to keep a lot of records for a long time because of the IRS. So that's the only thing that's stored in there.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? If so, please come forward. Mr. Canali, if I could just have you scoot over. I have a couple people coming up. If I can get your name and address for the record, please, if you're for or against. And
I'm
why.
against. My name is Ken. Last name is Slon, S-L-O-N, and my address is 8308 Ashcombe Avenue. And I'm opposed to this project because it's not harmonious with the neighborhood, it's a fire hazard, and it's not in compliance with our community CC&Rs. The city institutes setbacks for a reason of a fire break. No fire break, even with a non-electrified shed, still poses a fire hazard with contents that are stored in it. We already had a major fire in our complex last year, and if approved, it sets a precedent for our community for others to build similar structures and expand their homes to the walls. How will fire personnel get to the back of the property with such a narrow path? It puts their lives in danger as well as others. In the Planning Commission letter, he says the side yard is inaccessible. It's not so. I have the same plan outlay, and I enter and exit mine all the time. He does not believe that paper records stored in the shed are a fire hazard, and that's not true. Besides being a fire hazard, paper tracks bugs, rodents. Storage of these items, there's storage centers that were developed for that purpose, one less than a mile away, which I had used in the past. And he says his garage is solely used for his hobby shop, And in our CCNR's garages are to be used for parking vehicles
Ken,
as well
I need
as...
to stick to the actual application portion, to the shed, not the garage, not anything
Okay.
else.
So I guess my bottom line is that he should have gone to the HOA for approval before building this shed. The photo that was up on there doesn't show the shed, which is already built. My wife has that on hers, and it doesn't show the side of the gate where the shed is actually built. I don't know where that camera is.
If you could just flip that around, it's upside down right now.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much.
That's the shed, and that's the side that's actually built.
And it's on this side of the house.
I'll need to have him finish up first before I go to you for comments, sorry.
So that's my, in conclusion, I'm opposed to it.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Felicia Slon. It's 8308 Ashcombe Avenue. Regarding this variance, I'm encouraged the Planning Commission to deny this due to the fact that this homeowner at 8200 Ashcombe Avenue built this shed on the side of the house where temporary sheds are not usually put. The homeowner has bought this house in April where the back and side yards were just dirt and rock. Like it was built yesterday, but this house was built in 1996. Quickly, the homeowners added cement to the side of the house, driveway cement rails for their RV access, and solar panels to the roof. I understand someone wanting to improve this property to make it more livable, but they did these improvements without approvals from the previous HOA and Architectural Review Committee. As a neighbor and a member of the ARC committee, I saw this structure being framed, and I personally gave the homeowners the architectural review and regulations and highlighted the information on sheds and to let them know they needed to get approval. I am not sure if the homeowner was given any warnings or fines from the HOA at that time. I believe that if there was, there should be a record of it. Now that we have a new HOA and started in October 1st, and I am not sure if any communication between the homeowner and the HOA. The big issue of the shed is the fire hazard, as the homeowner has attached it to the shared block wall of his home and the next door neighbor's home. If the shed goes up in flames, there is no setback that can possibly start the next door neighbor's house on fire.
Felicia, is there anything different you'd like to add for the record than what's been heard?
I understand this is being used for storage for paperwork. Again, there's a community storage shed right around the corner from us. There are some, in our community, storage units, but they were approved by previous HOAs and governing boards. So if he wants a storage unit, again, they have a backyard to accommodate it, and as long as they get approval from the HOA. And if this is approved by the Planning Commission, this would set a precedence and would change our CCNRs and our architectural reviews and regulations, which I don't want to see to happen.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we're getting a lot of redundancy on the comments.
I'm sorry.
If there's one more thing you want to add that we haven't heard, I'd love to
The
hear
only
it.
thing I wanted to add is that this homeowner bought a home in the HOA from the beginning and has not bothered to follow the rules he has signed off on when he purchased this home.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out. Anyone else from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing. I'll ask Mr. Canali. I'll give you a minute if you'd like to have a rebuttal. Mr. Canali, I'll give you a minute if you'd like to say anything.
The only other thing I could add would be if there is a problem with the fire, I can add sprinklers to it. The ground in the back is still all open. I can run the water line over there and put sprinklers in. I've been in construction for 45 years. I was a superintendent for Preeny on City Center, so I got a pretty good idea what would be needed to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Canali. I will turn it over to the commission for discussion. Commissioner DeSalvio.
Yes, thank you through the chair to Mr. Keneally. You just stated that you've been in construction for 45 years, so what would possess you to build something knowing that you need permits and you need proof?
Well, it was under 200 square feet.
Okay, but there's still, there's setback requirements.
Yes, I did, but It's, like I say, it's an hour-and-a-half firewall right there. So, and
Okay,
and
Mike.
there's nothing in there could start a fire. I mean, don't
We just
store
said there was a
anything
boatload of
but
tax
bankers
papers.
boxes.
Okay, the problem I have with it, I'll be honest with you, is, and it's in my notes here, because no HOA, you got no proof from the art committee that you submitted you have anything with you that shows that you submitted an application and had your neighbors both behind you and beside you and across the street from you that signed off on saying that it's not, an eyesore or some type of hazard?
No, I don't.
Okay, that's a big pet peeve with me.
I did go...
That's being very polite to your surrounding neighbors. It is very, I drove past today, you have a beautiful home, don't get me wrong, but it is very, very close, that roof line is very close to your existing structure, and it is a very narrow path between that shed and your house, which, God forbid there was a fire, I think it would be a tight obstacle to get through, a firefighter full of gear getting through there.
Well, that's
I have a problem.
I could add sprinklers under that either.
I have a problem supporting it due to the fact that I have a tremendous amount of protests that came in on that item. I have 15, in fact, okay? And then I have homeowners that the lady stated that she sits on the art committee and has never seen anything come before her. You being in construction 45 years, you should know better. So I can't support it if your residents can't support it. So that's just where I'd be. Unless somebody else has anything, I make a motion for denial.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you. So it did not pass, Mr. Kennelly. Moving on to item number 20. VAR 74622, applicant Marco Buckley, owner Zachariah Gambino, for a possible action request for a variance to allow a 3-foot side yard setback where 10 feet is required for an accessory structure at 6161 Whispering Sands Drive. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow proposed detached garage to be 3 feet from the side property line where 5 feet is required. The case was originally noticed to have a 3-foot setback where 10 feet is required, but an ordinance, bill number 2018-48, was passed at the November 7th City Council meeting, changing the 10-foot setback requirement to 5 feet. This does not change staff's recommendation. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and staff is recommending denial.
Thank you. Can you get your name and address for the record, please?
Marco Buckley, address 2327 Bridal Reef Lane, Las Vegas, Nevada. I am here to submit a application for variance request for Mr. Zach Gambino's proposed accessory structure. It's 16 by 32 accessory building that's going to include a 1-hour fire rating wall on the east property line. We propose setback of the 3 foot because we do not want to impeach on the existing concrete slab that's there now.
Okay. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission for discussion. Commissioner DeSalvio.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. I haven't received any complaints or opposition on this because of the nature of that property. It's very rural. I went past there today. I don't think it'd be intrusive. I haven't, like I said, I haven't heard anything from anybody. I haven't received any calls or emails, and I usually do when something of that size would be placed, but because of the size of the property, is it just shy of an acre?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a pretty good chunk of property, and the way it's designed, is it going on the far back wall? That's the only part I didn't understand. Is it going on the far back property line that backs up to another yard?
Yeah. It is not necessarily backing up to another yard. It's going to be right around almost 100
Because you have one property that sits this way and the rest are in line. I noticed that. So is it going to the one that's...
I'll answer the question.
I'll need your name and address for the record, please.
Zachariah Gambino, 6161 Whispering Sands, Las Vegas, 89131. Yeah, it's actually going to back up to a fence that I have there to just section off areas. That actually backs up to the orchard on the back, my orchard on the back of the property. It's at least another 50 feet to the very far end of the property on the behind it. So, and from the, obviously from the front, from the road, it's at least 100 feet, so.
So is it going next to the existing, like, tarp tent or whatever?
It's actually going past that. It's on the south side of that. It would be going on the slab directly if you drove past the house. It would be on the left-hand side of the motor home that was sitting there.
Okay. Unless anybody has anything else, I would make a motion for...
Please do,
approval.
Commissioner.
Motion for approval for item 20 VAR 74622.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office in 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 21, VAR 74624, applicant Angelo Ferrugia, owner 824 South Decatur LLC, for possible action on request for a variance to allow 128 parking spaces where 133 parking spaces are required at 824 South Decatur Boulevard, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to eliminate 5 parking stalls from the required parking of an approved hotel residence use. The hotel was approved with adequate parking, but the site was redesigned to better comply with traffic entrance conditions, drive aisle access, and for optimal pole placement of a solar power system. To accommodate, the number of parking stalls is proposed to reduce from the required 133 spaces to 128 spaces. Since the site was originally designed with adequate parking and no evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, staff is recommending denial. Please note that there are additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening, Commissioner. My name is Didier Heck, D-I-D-I-E-R-H-E-C-Q. I'm here on behalf of Angelo Ferrugia. So when we first designed the building on the property, we include the solar panel poles, which are right here on the south side. So we lost the parking spots. That was 132 instead of 133. And then we, for the setback for the entrance and the corners parking, we think it's better that we, erase those 4 parking spots. So we are asking right now to have 128 instead of 133 parking spot. But we also provided a bike rack and electric car charging station. So we're asking for approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Vice Chair Quinn.
Thank you. Thank you. If I'm fine with this, it's 5 short, and you compensated with bike parking and the little electric car parking. So with that, if nobody else has anything to say, I'm going to make a motion this evening on variance 74624 for approval.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office in 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, Didier. Moving on to item number 22, VAR 74642, applicant Raven Nathan, owner Adrian E. Garcia Oedo, for possible action request for variance to allow a 30-foot front yard setback where 50 feet is required for proposed single-family dwelling north of Florine Street, east of Helen Avenue, Ward 5. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to build a new single-family dwelling within the required front setback area. It's on the north side of Florine Street and 150 feet east of Helen Avenue. The applicant is requesting to build the home 30 feet from the front property line where 50 feet is required. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and staff is recommending denial. Please note that there are additional letters of support since publication.
Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Good evening. I'm Karen Villaseca. We are located on Helen. And
Could you spell your last name for me, please?
Villasecca.
Thank you.
And we are on Flooring Street and Helen, parcel number 74473.
Thank you.
So we are here today, instead of the 50-foot setback, we are requesting a 30 feet setback as seen on the plan. We would only like to, the only part that would be past the 50 feet setback would be the garage, which those two located in the front, and technically the house would stay at the 51 feet setback.
Okay. Thank you. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard on this? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and go to Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Chairman Cherry. I've reviewed this situation thoroughly, and I have to agree with staff. There's no extraordinary circumstances that would warrant a variance at this time, so I recommend denial.
Thank you.
Is that your motion, Commissioner Williams?
It is.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote.
I don't know what happened. Oh, here it is. There.
And that motion carries.
So that item will go forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their meeting on December 19th, 2019, or 2018.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 23, VAR 74645, variance, public hearing, applicant owner Colin and Jennifer Hughes for possible action on a request for variance to allow an 8-foot front yard setback where 20 feet is required, a 0-foot separation from the main building where 6 feet is required, and to allow an accessory structure in the front of the primary structure where such is not allowed for proposed accessory structure at 1512 Metropolitan Street, Ward 1. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow proposed casita in front of the primary residence at 1512 Metropolitan Street. The structure would be located within the required 20-foot front yard setback area and is 0 feet from the primary structure where a 6-foot separation is required. No evidence of a unique or extraordinary circumstance has been presented, and staff is recommending denial. Please note that there is an additional letter of protest since publication.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Colin Hughes, 1512 Metropolitan.
Thank you.
This additional structure would be for my aging father-in-law, or father, to bring him back home so we can have a place to stay and be close to family. There's no backyard, so the only available space is on the front yard to build an additional small living space for him. We plan to use it for his additional living space.
Okay. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public want to be heard on this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission. Vice Chair Quinn.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. To allow an accessory structure in front of the primary residence is what's troubling me. Because as I drove down the street, there's no casitas in the front of any houses, right? They're all in the back. So what happens here is if we approve yours, it sets a precedent for other people to want to do the same thing. And unfortunately, your piece of property, although we'd love to have your dad come home and live with you, the problem is a casita in the front is setting a precedent for the entire street. With that being said, I'm going to follow staff's recommendation this evening for denial.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item is final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 24, I will have to abstain from this, and I will throw it to Vice Chair Quinn.
Mr. Chairman and Madam Vice Chair, I'll have to abstain on this matter as I have ongoing business with the applicant and the representative, and so I will be abstaining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 24, SCP 848. The applicant is RG Highland Enterprises Incorporated, owner 1916 Highland Properties, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed 17,952 square foot marijuana cultivation facility use at 3020 and 3030 South Valley View Boulevard. Councilwoman Tarkanian's ward. Staff report.
Before we go to the staff report, if I could quickly jump in, I forgot to state the reason for my abstention. We are in the cannabis industry as well, in the cultivation, so that's why I will
Good
be
for
abstaining.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
I'm not, just kidding. But anyway, moving on to the staff report, Mr. Gepke, or ma'am.
Vice Chairman Quinn, the applicant is proposing to locate a marijuana cultivation facility within an existing industrial building that meets all minimum development standards and distance separation requirements of Title 19.12. Staff is recommending approval of the request. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication.
Good evening. Applicant, name and address, please, for the record.
Good evening, Commission. Thank you. I'm Amy Sugden, 611 South 6th Street.
Ms. Amy, could you please spell your last name for the clerks?
Yes, S-U-G-D-E-N, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant, RG Highland Enterprises.
Thank you.
This is a relocation because my client was displaced by Project Neon. He was one of the first cultivation facilities approved in the city over on 1916 Highland. He has had to be relocated. We've searched for a long time and to find something within the city that fit. So now we have found this property. He's acquired it, and I believe with the staff's approval, that there are any issues. There is one item I would like to ask the Commission to address, which is my client did receive a notice regarding their razor wire that's currently on site. When code went out, enforcement to inspect for this application, they noticed that the razor wire was a non-approved use. So we would just ask that that item be obeyed, given that we are going to be doing substantial remodeling and addressing the security of this property, if so approved. As a cultivation facility, it needs and will have very good security on site. So in the interest of efficiency, we would like code enforcement at least, they wanted to hear what you guys were going to say tonight, and we'd report back tomorrow on that issue as well.
Thank you very much, and we'll have the director address that when it's time, okay?
Thank you.
So with that, is there anybody here that wishes to speak for or against this item? If not, I'll open it up then to the Planning Commission, starting with Commissioner Rausch.
Hello, Ms. Sugden. Excuse me. How are you tonight? I just had something I ran across, and I just wanted a point of clarification, and maybe you can clarify for me, and the city attorney can jump in if I'm either out of order or in order, or provide clarification as well. I noticed on the SOFI, we almost never have one of these. The statement of financial interest states, does the mayor or any member of the city council or the planning commission have a financial interest in this operation? And it says, yes, Trinity Schlotman. So when he abstained, he didn't really disclose that he had a financial interest in it. He said he had business dealings. Could you please clarify for me what that means?
Sure, Commissioner Rausch, I would be happy to. As I mentioned, my client was displaced as a result, actually, of an eminent domain action that was filed by the Department of Transportation. In that, I did consult with and retain Trinity's company, Haven Development, to look at the costs. As part of our process through eminent domain, we have to do appraisals and valuations of the existing property, and we often look at the cost to build as one of the valuations. So his company provided a cost estimate on his prior property, so I think he felt, given their relationship with my office and that being so close to this matter and the reason for the move, that's why I actually asked him. I said, I don't know, exactly, you don't really have a financial interest. We did pay him a nominal fee for those consulting services. That's why we did put financial interest, technically.
Understood. So he has no financial interest in this site or this application?
Correct.
All right. Thank you for the clarification.
Sure.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, being that this is in Ward 1, I'm going to entertain a motion from Commissioner Del Salvio.
I'd like to make a motion for item number 24, SUP 74648, for approval.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I forgot about the razor wire. So with that being said, I wanted to have, I think it would be, I apologize, we all forgot. But I think it would be imperative if we put maybe, through you, Director, a suggestion, maybe a 6-month condition, that the razor wire be gone in 6 months, being that they're under construction, or what would be your opinion? I apologize to all of you.
So, Vice Chair Quinn, unfortunately, the SUP is not a place where we can approve or disapprove razor wire. That's
Okay.
got to be done through a site development review. I have noted here that I'll talk to the code enforcement officer that's responding to this.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this body doesn't have the ability to halt code enforcement action on something that doesn't have a site development review or a
Okay.
variance before you. And so in the absence of those applications, the department will work with the applicant to figure out what their next steps are. They may need to just take it down temporarily while they work through whatever it is, or they may need to come forward with a site development review to come before this body to substantiate the razor wire.
Thank you,
But we'll
Director.
figure it
I
out.
just wanted that clarified for you before you walked out. So that motion passes this evening with Mr. Schlottman and Chairman Cherry abstaining. So
Thank you,
good
Vice
luck
Chair.
to you. Thank you very much.
And Madam Vice Chair, that item will go forward to City Council and be heard as a part of their December 19th, 2018 agenda.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Moving on to items number 25 through 28. Item number 25, SUP 73909, applicant Michael Felling, owner 235 West Philadelphia LLC, for possible action on request for a special use permit for proposed short-term residential rental use with a waiver to allow a 0-foot distance separation from a similar use where 660 feet is required at 235 West Philadelphia Avenue, Unit 1, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Related item number 26, SUP 73910, for possible action request for a special use permit for proposed short-term residential rental use with a waiver to allow a 0-foot distance separation from a similar use where 660 feet is required at 235 West Philadelphia Avenue, Unit 2, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Related item number 27, SUP 73912, for possible action request for a special use permit for proposed short-term residential rental use at 235 West Philadelphia Avenue, Ward 6, Ward 3, Unit 6, Ward 3. Staff recommends approval. Related item number 28, SUP 73913, for possible action request for a special use permit for proposed short-term residential rental use with a waiver to allow 0-foot distance separation from a similar use where 660 feet is required at 235 West Philadelphia Avenue, Unit 7, Ward 3. Staff recommends denial. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to operate 4 out of 10 multifamily apartment units as short-term residential rental units. As the applicant is proposing multiple units on the same site, there is no distance separation waiver required for the first unit because there are no other short-term residential rental units located within 660 feet of it. However, if the first unit is approved, each additional short-term residential rental unit would then require a waiver of the required distance separation from the first unit. In this case, the applicant has requested that item 27, SUP 73912, be considered first for approval, as that unit would be preferred if the additional units are denied due to the required waivers. For this reason, item 27 should be voted on first by the Commission. As it meets the requirements of Title 19, staff recommends approval of item 27, but denial of items 25, 26, and 28 due to the subsequent waivers that are required. Please note that there is an additional letter of protest since publication, and at this time I will turn the presentation over to Deputy Planning Director Mary McElhone for additional information pertaining to this item.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there has been no code enforcement activity or notice and orders issued for any of these 4 locations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record?
Merle Felling, 205 East Harmon, here on behalf of my brother Michael Felling. And essentially, we purchased this property, and the previous owner had been using and renting 2 units as Airbnb, and as we looked into it, we discovered the different requirements Las Vegas requires to operate an Airbnb. So we just ask, as long as you're running 1, you know, it would be a lot easier to run 4, but if we could even get 2 of the units approved for Airbnb usage, we're believe we're going to have an on-site manager, and if you're running two, obviously, with scales of economics, it makes better sense if we could be operating, at least 2 units under the Airbnb, with the rest used as regular long-term rentals.
Okay, thank you, Merle. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? I see someone coming up. If I could ask you just to step aside quickly. Get your name and address for the record, if you're for or against.
Good evening. My name is Jim Sullivan. I live at 6500 Vegas Drive, but I am here representing the Culinary Union, which is at 1630 South Commerce Street. I am here today to ask you to follow staff's recommendations and deny the 3 special use permits for 235 West Philadelphia Ave, asking for a waiver from the distance requirements. Our union has been concerned about short-term rentals and their effects on our members and their neighborhoods throughout the city since they first started showing up in the valley. While we believe that the city's current short-term rental regulations don't go far enough, the minimum distance separation requirement provides a basic protection as it keeps our neighborhoods from becoming noisy and bothersome commercial districts. It should be enforced without exception. In addition, we ask you to deny the remaining special use permit application for a short-term rental business at 235 West Philadelphia. We believe it is inappropriate to let a short-term rental business take over an apartment building in a neighborhood that could provide affordable housing members for our members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. If you'd like to come back up, give you a quick minute if you'd like to have a rebuttal.
Yes, the only rebuttal I have to that is I understand it was kind of the same way with Uber and Lyft. Obviously the larger unions are going to be against something like this, giving opportunities to regular members to establish somewhat business on the side. So I would hope that in, living with the spirit of America and, how it grew, they had to start somewhere themselves, and if we can start with a few Airbnb rentals, we'd like to continue and grow, and we've actually put a considerable sum of money into the building, allowing for more opportunities for some of the lower term rentals in an upgraded units. So we're involved in the area and would like to purchase other buildings in there as well.
Thank you very much. I will turn this over to the commission for discussion. I'll start off by saying, I look at the short-term rentals in kind of different buckets. When it's in single-family residential, I approach it differently. If it's multifamily with ownership with condo, I approach it a little differently. And then when it's multifamily with one single owner, I approach it a little differently as well. And I really, it doesn't give me that much heartburn when it's multifamily, one owner, when you're the responsible party at the end for everything that happens, whether it's to the tenant next door and how that affects future rents, or to the building itself directly to you. My first question is, what do you get for an Airbnb in this space?
It definitely depends on season and variant, time of year, that type of stuff. Length of stay makes a difference as well, but anywhere from $40 to $75 a night. And, going and looking at the new codes Las Vegas has, we do also collect the extra tax on there and everything else, as opposed to if it was just a straight long-term rental.
And how many units are in the total?
There's a total of 10 units in
10 units?
Yes.
And so I know for me, obviously I have the commission for discussion, but I could support 27. I don't know if I can creep out to the rest of them, just being because the property is so small. It is right next to a hotel, a large hotel.
Right.
That we try to support in this community. And so that's kind of where I stand at the moment, and I will go down. Commissioner Williams, I see your light on.
I'm sorry.
Did you? Oh, okay. Vice Chair Quinn.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a 660 person because it was my boss that wrote the ordinance. But forget about that. I would find it very hard to understand how with 10 units you could differentiate which of the 2 or 3 are going to be short-term rentals. So with no disrespect to you at all, I think it's going to be hard to manage. I think more than one or two could be short-term rentals, and I don't feel comfortable at all with this property going short-term rentals. Therefore, I will not be supporting this tonight.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Commissioner Roush?
Thank you, Chairman. This is difficult because my precedent and belief on short-term rentals continues to evolve, but in general, I've felt that if a property was near, or in this case within the resort corridor, which I feel this is, and in a commercially zoned area, that it is suitable, and apartments are a different animal than single-family residences, for sure. I mean, I agree with Chairman Cherry on that. My biggest concern that I continue to have at every meeting since we have been more recently reviewing the short-term rental policy that is up for complete overhaul is how we take money from applicants and then could be potentially overturning the very approvals that we give them. So just philosophically, I have a really hard time now with approving any short-term rentals because I really feel that they should be on a hiatus. I don't think we should be accepting any applications while we're revising the policy. So for that reason, I'll be voting no tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Schlaben?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I don't feel that 4 different properties within this project is appropriate with the number of parking spaces and everything around that area. And it's not just parking. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I mean, when it comes down to it, it's not within 660 feet of any other short-term rentals. I don't think I could approve all 4 of them. I wouldn't have a problem approving one, but good luck to the applicant.
Okay.
Commissioner Salvia, did you?
I just wanted to state that I'm fine with item 27, like Chair said. One's fine, but how does one police that only that apartment is being used? Who's to say that we approve one, but 4 are being used? Which one, who polices what apartment number that is? That's where I'm trying to figure out, kind of on the fence with it.
Okay. I'll ask staff if they want to comment.
Mr. Chair, through you, so what happens is when we note the unit number on the license. And when we do our compliance efforts and we're checking use host, which is that third-party hosting software that we use, that will also identify the unit numbers. So if those other unit numbers are being listed, we should be able to get that information. Now, if the owner is advertising the very specific unit number 6, which is item number 27, and then he moves those renters into another unit, that would be much more difficult for us to ascertain that there's problems going on there.
Thank you. Commissioner Toussaint?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I know this area. I lived there in 53, 54, and 63, so I'm really dating myself. And my husband did live on Philadelphia, and we played at Fairfield Park, and I just think this is the wrong place for a short-term rental. I really, really do. I think it's too hard to enforce what units are going to be rented out and which ones aren't going to be rented out, and I don't feel that I'm comfortable with that you're only going to rent out number 27, so you won't have my support tonight, and if you can come up with a better idea of letting me feel more comfortable with it, then maybe I could change my mind, but as it stands right now, I think I'm going to vote no.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Schlaben?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on item 25, SGP.
We're going to take 27 first out of order because it doesn't have the distance separation.
All right, then on item 27, SGP 73912, I move to approve following staff's recommendation for approval.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion does not carry.
Can we get a different vote?
Commissioner Roush?
I'd like to change my vote. I made a mistake. I apologize, but I meant to vote no. I thought the motion was to deny, and then I realized the motion was to approve, and I voted yes when I meant to deny.
Noted. Okay, and that motion...
Thank you.
still is not carrying it. Anyone else like to make a
No,
motion?
it would carry.
Oh, it did carry?
Oh, she changed it from yes to no.
To no.
Okay, it doesn't carry, so
Anyone else like to make a motion in the counter? Vice Chair
I
Quinn.
will. On item number 27, SUP 73912, my motion is for denial.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
And, Mr. Chairman, on 25, excuse me, SUP 73909, I would move to deny, following staff's recommendations.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote.
So, Mr. Chairman, for the record, and I apologize to throw this in there, but since you denied the previous one, technically, staff has to recommend approval of this one because there is no distance separation. It meets all requirements of code. So for a clean record, I have to change staff's recommendation on this one to a recommendation of approval, and then I would ask the motion maker to adjust his motion based on that changing information, if he would, to just not follow staff's recommendation because that's not the motion he made.
Okay, to keep from going back and forth, you know, all evening on this, I'd ask for somebody else to make the motions on these items.
Vice Chair Quinn or Commissioner DeSalvio?
On item number 26, SUP 73910.
25.
25, excuse me, SUP 73909, motion for denial.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries. Item 26.
Item number 26, SUP 73910, motion for denial.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
And item number 28, SUP 73913, motion for denial.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, those items are final action this evening unless appealed to the city clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 29, SUP 74487, applicant owner distinct dwellings for possible action on request for a special use permit for an existing short-term residential rental use at 2200 Sunland Avenue, Ward 5. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is operating a short-term residential rental unit that meets all minimum special use permit requirements of Title 1912. The special use permit is required as a result of Ordinance 6585, which required all existing and proposed short-term residential rental units not eligible for conditional use approval to be approved via the special use permit process prior to July 1st, 2019. Staff is recommending approval. Please note that there are additional letters of protest and support since publication. And at this time, I'll turn the presentation over to Deputy Planning Director Mary McElhone for additional information pertaining to this item.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this property has been a licensed short-term rental since December of 2016 for almost 2 years. During that period of time, there have been no complaints received, and there has been no enforcement action taken against this property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Hi, good evening. I'm Tina Cannon, and my address is 5008 Thunder River Circle, 89148.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us about the application?
Yes, please. So we are the owners of Sunland Avenue. We're applying for SUP because of the sunset clause that requires pre-existing licensed short-term rentals to apply for their SUP before July of 2019. And I would like to present some reasons why we should get approved. We are an existing legal licensed short-term rental running for about 2 years. We are compliant with all inspection, short-term rental, and distance requirements set forth by the city. We've had no complaints from our neighbors. We have a Ring doorbell camera installed on the front of our house so that we can see who and how many people are going in and out of the house at all times. We are not a party house. In order to book our home, the guests must agree in writing that they accept our rule of no parties. And we do vet our potential guests, and I have declined guests who have asked if they could have a party. We are Las Vegas locals. I've been in the city for 17 years, my husband 11. We are established here and able to get to the home within 15 minutes. We lived in this house for 2 years, and we know the neighborhood, we know our neighbors, and they know us. They know that we're responsible and respectful people. And I've personally spoken to my neighbors and my neighborhood watch, and I've also attended a Rancho Manor community meeting to express to my community that I'm always open to their concerns, that I've given my cell phone that they can contact me any time of the day or night. We pay all our city taxes every month on time, and we pay between $300 and $700 a month. We are super hosts with Airbnb. We have 150 reviews, with 91% of our guests giving us 5 stars out of 5. The majority of our guests are families with children and elderly who are thrilled to have an option off the Strip. We keep our property maintained in excellent condition. And with all the work that it takes to maintain a short-term rental, we also provide regular employment to other members of the community. And lastly, my husband and I are Cirque du Soleil performers and have been entertaining visitors and locals in Las Vegas for 10 years now, and we have our first child. But as artists, we do not get a typical retirement. We don't get a pension or a 401k. We have to build it ourselves. And so now we have to get creative on how to prepare not only for our future, but for our daughters. And this short-term rental has been the answer for us. We've put our blood, sweat, and tears into it, and gratefully it has become integral in providing the supplemental income that we need. And because we rely on this income, we take great pride in our home, how we run our business, and our community. We care both about our guests and our neighbors. We are your ideal short-term rental owners. And for these reasons, I kindly ask you to approve our special use permit. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. Very nice presentation, by the way. This is noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Commissioner Rausch, I see your light on.
Why is she going?
Oh, boy. So, I am going to have to abstain from this item because I cannot vote without prejudice. I lived at 2210 Sunland Avenue, 2 doors down, for a good chunk of my life. It is where I came home on my wedding day. It's where I brought my baby girl home. Not going to start crying, but I'm going to tell you it's a special neighborhood for me. So I'm not going to be able to vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Rausch. Commissioner Williams?
Thank you, Chairman Cherry. I find that you have an ideal situation, and if I were one of those people that really supported short-term rentals, you would be the one. So my motion is to approve.
There's a motion on the floor for approval. Please cast your vote.
That was a great presentation.
That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item will go on to City Council and be heard as a part of their agenda on December 19th, 2018.
Thank you. It looks a little like Johnny Depp a little bit, doesn't it? All right, moving on to item number 30, SUP 74515, applicant owner Troy and Christine Glasgow, for possible action and request for a special use permit for existing short-term residential rent-to-use at 8913 Valley of Fire Avenue, Ward 4. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to continue operating a short-term residential rental at 8913 Valley of Fire Avenue. The subject site has been operating as a short-term residential rental since a business license was issued on October 6, 2015. However, the site requires a special use permit to continue operating after June 30, 2019, per ordinance number 6585. Staff is recommending approval. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Deputy Planning Director Mary McElhone for additional information pertaining to this item.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this licensed short-term rental has been operating for a bit over 3 years now. During that 3-year period, there's only been one complaint that was received of trash that was left out, trash bins that were left out past the period in which they should have gone back into the garage, and that was on March 28, 2018, and that was the only item that's been noticed in 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
Yes. Good evening, Commission. My name is Troy Glasgow, Glasgow. 8913 Valley of Fire is the location.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us about the application?
Yes. We have been operating a legal short-term rental since inception in 2015. Since that time, we've hosted probably dozens and dozens of families and guests. We do our best to vet our guests. We encourage families. Most of our guests are people with families or multi-generational families. A lot of them are attending sporting events in the Valley or dance competitions, karate, things of that nature. We routinely deny guests that are from the area unless we contact them in person. We've had people that have wanted to have parties there, and we've denied that. We've paid over $12,000 in hotel motel tax during our operation. We have security cameras on the front of the property so we can monitor who comes and who goes. In addition to that, we can monitor parking and the garbage, make sure the garbage can gets brought back in when it's supposed to. We also have a device that's installed inside the house that's called a party squasher, and basically it detects the number of devices that are seeking Wi-Fi. So if it exceeds that limit, then it will alert us via text message. We have a local representative that is willing and able to respond on very short notice if necessary. We would ask for your support to continue maintaining the short-term rental. We are responsible, like the previous applicants, we're responsible short-term rental operators and owners, and we work very hard to maintain an environment that is it's well-maintained and that it welcomes families, multi-generational families. We actually got into business because that's how our family travels. We have 3 children, and they're grown now, but 5 people in a motel room just doesn't work. And so we made it a practice to utilize short-term rentals when we went on vacation with our children.
Thank you, Troy. Anything else specific to the application did you want to add?
No, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. Thank you for the nice presentation. These short-term rentals that are existing and don't have all the marks against them, I'm inclined to support, so I will be going along with it to just kind of help them on their way. So that's just where I stand. Commissioner Toussaint.
Through you, Chairman Cherry, I agree with you. This property has been existing for a long time, other than one little problem with trash. I did drive by there. It's a beautiful neighborhood, and it seems like you're doing everything right. So you will have my support tonight. So if there's nobody else, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. Thank you very much. That motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that is final action this evening unless appealed to the City Clerk's office within 10 days.
Thank you, Commission.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 31, SUP 74620, applicant owner Yosef Etufali for possible action on a request for special use permit for proposed short-term residential rental use at 220 Moeller Circle, Ward 5. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to operate a short-term residential rental at 220 Moeller Circle. The site meets all of the minimum special use permit requirements outlined in Title 1912. Staff is recommending approval. Please note the posted map depicts a second short-term residential rental within the 660-foot radius. This is incorrect, and a correct map is located within your blue sheets. Please note that there are additional letters of protest since publication. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Deputy Planning Director Mary Meckelhone for additional information pertaining to this item.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there has been no code enforcement action on this property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Youssef El Toufali, and 117 Shadow Lane.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Am I missing the distance separation on this one?
Madam Vice Chair, there's no distance separation. There was an error on the map that was in the backup, so in your supplemental backup from today, we've fixed the map. There's no second
And
short-term
you know I
rental.
didn't look at that today, don't you, Mr. Summerfield? Sorry.
Thank you. Would you like to tell us about the application, Joseph?
Yes, please. There are no licensed or permitted operators under 660 feet. That's something new that I have. I do have a business license and a SUP for one house located on 909 Artesia Way, which is 5 minutes away from this one. And I have been operating short-term rentals since April 2017, which is about 18 months now. And I had absolutely no complaint from any of my neighbors, and my guests are very pleased and happy with the whole experience. I intend to keep going and doing the same good work for many months and years to come, if I could. I value my neighbors and respect my community. I have asked my closest neighbors first before I even apply for this request. In case they do not wish any kind of short-term activity in the neighbor, I will not be here. I mean, I will not even start. So I have a picture here of the neighbor that I asked and that I meet in person. Should I just put it like that? So in green are the neighbor that I met in person and that I asked, and they actually, I also made them sign a letter that I have all here. It's about 11 of them. So that's the letter they signed when I met them. So they have given me a written support, and they have no problem with my request. I actually have in person asked my neighbor and talked to the owners one by one to explain and give them like more details, and I answered all their questions so they understand and they have full knowledge of my intention. Few homeowners didn't open the door, or the house was empty or on sale, but so those are the letters. And then to finish, I would love just to repeat that in 18 months I didn't have any complaint, and not even about like garbage or noise or parking issue. It is very important for me to mention this because this is my only proof to show that I do care about my neighbors. I do not want any party, celebration, or event to take place in my property. I take this seriously as full-time job, and I love what I do. Most importantly, I'm very selective and very strict when it comes to approve a guest request to rent my house. So I'm fully aware that the city of Las Vegas has experienced careless and unqualified operators, but I just hope that you see me as part of the solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard in this item? Need you all to come on up. Joseph, if I could just have you go to the side, and I will... I need your name and address for the record, please, if you're for or...
Janet Churchill, 409 Horn Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89107. My husband and I have lived in this neighborhood for over 45 years, and we adamantly oppose this use permit request. I am also here speaking on behalf of several neighbors who oppose it, who were unable to attend, and many of them have returned their cards that they received in the mail opposing this. The home is on a small lot in a small cul-de-sac. There's a grade school and a high school, lots of children in the neighborhood, and I just don't think that this conforms to what we need in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record, sir? Nice tie.
William Riggs, 404 Horn Street. The property is behind my home. We are opposed to this as we have had a short-term rental in our area before. Our street is a straight street, and with that short-term rental came drag racing. We have a lot of children. There was a lot of damage to the houses and the property in the area, and it was not a good environment to be in. And a lot of those short-term rentals that we have seen has not been what we'd like to see in our neighborhood. I had some time to talk with Mr. Youssef when he came around, and I told him at that time that I was opposed to it and the reasons why, and we're still opposed to this.
Thank you, Mr. Riggs. Anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no one else, we will close the public hearing. Okay. We will close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission for discussion.
Thank you.
Commissioner Williams?
Chairman Cherry. You know, at first, actually, I was conflicted on your application for short-term rental. So today, I drove by, and I drove into that cul-de-sac, and I was like, I could not believe what I saw. Your neighbors would be to the west. I have pictures of all of this. Garbage piled up so high, it's unbelievable. Code enforcement needs to take a look. Your property, 3-foot weeds. On October the 4th, the property was nice. That's the picture we see here. But apparently, nobody's done anything to maintain that. And so once I saw that, I did an awful lot of soul searching. And I just don't think that I can vote to contribute to what I feel is a downfall of the area already in that cul-de-sac. So with that being said, my motion is to deny.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your vote. And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item will move forward for City Council for their consideration at the December 19th, 2018 meeting.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 32, SUP 74623, applicant owner Jennifer Gunn, for possible action on a request for a special use permit for proposed short-term residential rental use at 1536 Valley Crest Street, Ward 5. Staff recommends approval. Can we get the staff report, please?
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is proposing to operate a short-term residential rental at 1536 Valley Crest Street. The site meets all of the minimum special use requirements outlined in Title 1912. Staff is recommending approval. Please note the posted special map depicts an existing short-term residential rental. However, this is due to a pending review of a business license, which was denied by planning. The short-term residential rental is proposed with this special use permit. Please note that there are additional letters of support and protest since publication. At this time, I will turn the presentation over to Deputy Planning Director Mary McElhone for additional information pertaining to this item.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, there has been no recent short-term rental activity noticed on this property, and there has been no code enforcement action taken either. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record?
Yeah, my name is Ben, and the address is 1536 Valley Crest Street, Las Vegas, Nevada 89108.
I need your last name, Ben.
Ben Gunn, G-U-N-N.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks for having me. I would like to start out by saying that we would like to request your approval on a special use permit on our property. The home, we keep it very well maintained. We do care very much so about our neighbors. We've owned the home for 8 years. We have close relationships with all of our close surrounding neighbors. We do live there off and on, and well, we live there pretty regularly, but the only times we've been seeking to rent this is when we're not there. We would make a strict rule to only involve or rent to families or executive parties. We're not looking to have this to be a party house whatsoever. We care a lot about our property. We want it maintained. We care a lot about our neighbors. We want it maintained. We had long-term rental in the past, and we had great success with that. We were able to get somebody that could get along with the neighbors in there. We do have a Ring doorbell as well. We can monitor and maintain who were to come into the house. We do have a security system as well with a sound monitor that will alert us if sound is above a certain amount. I would like to make note that the house is a very large lot with no homes behind it, with great distances to any of the surrounding homes, and there is even an arroyo between us and our neighbor Stu. He's never complained, and actually he mentions that he does not ever hear or have a disturbance from us since we've been there. Also, since we've been in the home, when we acquired it, it was during the downfall of the economy. It was foreclosed. We put tens of thousands of dollars into this home, upgrading it. We do have a plan that if this is approved, to help spread this revenue to the surrounding neighbors and increase their curbside appeal and their landscaping as well. For instance, our neighbor right directly next to us, he has a vehicle in the driveway. We could help him remove that, and so on. But we do care a lot about our community and the neighborhood. We do have a child. She's friends with other kids in the neighborhood, and it is a big deal to us that if we were to do this, we would do it respectfully and professionally as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gunn. This was noticed as a public hearing. Anyone from the public like to be heard? I see one person, two people coming up. If I could just ask you to step aside, Mr. Gunn, let them come to the microphones. I'll need your name and address again, please, for the record.
I still know my name, thanks.
Thanks.
I'm
I
Casey
forgot.
Curry, K-A-C-Y Curry, 6228 Mandarin Drive. Thank you very much, and good evening, Ms. Vice Chair. I live within a chain of this property also. Thank you. I'm against this special use permit for several reasons, as I'm a proponent of finding neighborhoods to support Las Vegas in the industrial and national leadership of entertainment. Yet, I am also a self-advocate of altered ability, often known as disability community, and I personally feel jeopardized by having this as a personal safety item in our neighborhood. I am now not able to go north out of our neighborhood. It restricts my ingress and egress from my property to use community services such as grocery, marketing, and services. I am restricted, more effort and expense to get out by twice as much just to get out of the neighborhood. I am not in my neighborhood. I have not offered to have my curbside approval elevated by Mr. Gunn or anyone. I'm also, so my ingress is, but the other thing is my personal safety is restricted because I have no knowledge of whether or not short-term transient lodging people may be registered or not. And I think that's very not much of my consideration. So against in the neighborhood, this is restricting our neighborhood, and we want to have our fine neighborhoods. That's what we want in Las Vegas, especially living as a long-term resident from 6 months to 6 to 12 months resident, even up to 29 and 30-year residents rather than weekends or less than 31 days. Thank you. I'm opposed for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. Thanks for coming out tonight. Can I get your name and address, please, for the record, sir?
My name is Mike Lynch, L-Y-N-C-H. I live at 228 Mandarin Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada. I will be brief. There's an old Arab saying, when you buy a house, you don't buy the house, you buy the neighbors. When you get a short-term rental, the gentleman from the culinary unit has made it quite clear housing is a premium as it is. My main concern is fires with these houses that are using short-term rentals. Any houses that have been built after the 90s don't have the same, this house was built before then. District 5, Ward 5 has one of the highest fire hazards of all the districts in the city. From 2008, 159 people have been killed in Las Vegas in house fires. I've opposed it. I'd like to see somebody in Las Vegas have a house for a chance. I have nothing against the guns running it long-term because it would provide housing for some people in Las Vegas. I'm going to change a little bit because in my conclusion, they're saying you buy a house, you buy the neighbors. When you get a short-term loan, I have somebody that rents me for 31 days that I don't know who's there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. Mr. Gunn, I'll give you a minute for a rebuttal.
Yeah, my first rebuttal, the first woman, would be that the guests that we would review to be in there would be strictly families with children and the size of 6 to 8 people. And most of those families that we're familiar with, I don't think there's too much of a risk for the neighborhood. I think they're going to have the same respect for children and the community. And that's our goal. The main reason why we wanted to do this was that it's similar to the last people with the SUP request. We have large family vacations where we stay in the Airbnbs as well, and we know that our house facilitates families with a basketball court and a swimming pool and a large yacht or a large lot, and we know families could enjoy it, and the same as the last request, you get families the size of 6 to 8 people, and it's going to be difficult to be in a hotel room as well. So that's who we would be vetting. I don't think that we can see that there's a risk for the community with that. Secondly, the rebuttal to the second person is we are completely compliant to the zone code, which we have to have interconnected fire alarms in every single room in the home. That was tested and approved. And we have to have certified fire extinguishers in every place in the home as well. I don't think there's a concern for a fire. Most of these people that come in here are just as concerned for their family safety as we would be in the home as well. And also, our home is on such a large lot, I don't think it would be any risk to surrounding homes if anything like that were to happen as well. And we carry the proper insurance on multiple levels. Okay. And if I could just end as well as, we have great relationships with our surrounding neighbors. They all have our cell phones. We're on speaking terms regularly with them. They know they can contact us at any time. And all the revenue that would be generated from this would be strictly put into the home. This is not needed for us to pay the bills. This is something that we would like to share with other families and utilize the revenue to increase the home's value and the community's value. And I think if you drove around the neighborhood, you would see that our home is definitely one of the nicest homes in the neighborhood, if not the nicest, and we'd like to continue to maintain that and spread that to the surrounding neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Gunn.
Yep.
I will turn it over to the commission. I will quickly say tonight's the first night for me that I've heard something different from opposition with Casey coming out and stating how, a hardship with using the neighborhood. It's the first time we've heard, parties and trash and all the different things, and do appreciate her coming out to speak to that. I'm not quite sure where I stand here because it is proposed, it's not existing, and I do see some protests here, but I will turn it over to Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Chairman Cherry. I visited your house this morning, took a picture of it. It's very nice. However, I have a question, and I guess it's for staff. How is it that you operated a short-term rental illegally? And was it 2016 or 2018?
No, it was of recently that.
I'm sorry?
It was recently that we had city licensing, and we were pursuing this, and we had rented it, and somehow the city, I think it was the third-party thing, notified us and said, you cannot do this, you're not fully compliant, and we said, no problem, let's, we're in pursuit of this, we're doing our due diligence, we'll finish this, and That's what the scenario
Okay,
was.
so basically, you were aware that you were not compliant.
We were not fully aware because we had our state tax and state license, and we thought we were compliant. We didn't realize the SUP, the severity was to the extent of a 4-bedroom home until we were notified, and at that point, that's when we just pursued it.
I have another question.
Sure.
Do you own Oasis Realty? Is that?
Yeah, that's the LLC that we actually operate.
Okay, so you operate other short-term rentals?
No, we have a home in Denver that we lived in before we moved here that has long-term rental in it.
Okay,
And so that's what we filed the taxes under.
I see.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't understand with your, having experience in real estate and investing in a property and not knowing that you have to get approval by the city. I just don't understand that. And so I can't support you because I can't understand why you would open a short-term rental. And then when you said a third party got involved, and that's how you were cited, I guess, by the city. And that situation is still open. Is that not correct, Mary?
Mr. Chair, to you, can you repeat the question? I didn't quite.
Okay, my information shows that they were operating an illegal short-term rental, and that case is still open.
So this is what we have in the system. They actually applied for a business license back in, it looks like it was 2017. At that point in time, they were actually denied because they needed to go through the special use permit process, and that was in August of 2017. So at no point in time did they ever have a City of Las Vegas business license. I have down that code enforcement, there was never a case created, and there was never a notice and order issued. What I have is that they did have some license, that UHOS identified that there were some documented stays that were early on this year, but the listing was removed, and so at this point in time, we don't have any short-term rental activity that's happened at the property recently.
Okay, so the information, and I'm just saying this for clarification, the information I'm looking at on my screen that says the case is still open is not correct. Is that what you're telling me? That staff, under staff recommendation in that area?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, through you, the only thing I can tell you is that the notes that the staff pulled together for me, it's possible that they may have missed this one, but the notes that I have that they pulled more recently didn't show that there was a code enforcement case. So obviously we have some conflicting information based upon what was originally pulled for the staff report based upon what I have here now. But it certainly does point to the fact that they were renting at some point in time in the past, so they were renting without a license.
Okay, I found the area that I was talking about, and it says as of June 19, 2018, code enforcement opened a case, and it gives the number 19055 for the illegal operation of a short-term residential rental at 1536 Valley Crest Street. The case is unresolved as of 10/1/18.
Please address. I have hard copies if you'd like to see it.
I'm sorry, the public hearing portion is closed. If you'd like to turn something in to staff, they can take it for you.
Commissioner DeSalvio, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Commissioner DeSalvio?
Yes.
Thank you, through the chair. Okay, so if I heard right, 2017, they went after a business license. They were denied that business license. But the applicant just testified before us stating that he just recently did a short-term rental. He also testified that he's in the real estate business. So I find it hard to believe that you don't know what the heck's going on. You know exactly what's going on. You just played the game until you got caught, in my opinion. So because of that, I can't support it.
Okay, can I respond? My wife deals with all the licensing, and she can let you know what state we were in, where this was understood.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Gunn, and my address is 1536 Valley Crest Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89108.
Can't hear you.
My name is Jennifer Gunn, and the address is 1536 Valley Crest Street, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89108. And the city licensing, when I originally applied for it, I can provide, it said approved. They later refunded my money over 60 days later. It was something that I missed in error, but I had an approved license at that time because they didn't go back and this wasn't all the way enforced yet because it happened, I believe, in July of 2017. However, we were on and off doing rental. And in Denver, Colorado, prior to us having a long-term rental, we have an apartment there. We were doing short-term rental. It did not require licensing. It did not require lodging tax. That was their city requirement. Now here, we were notified and we canceled all of our Airbnbs immediately. I contacted the officer immediately and he told us to contact zoning, and we went through the processes of zoning. We haven't rented since. We don't intend to rent since or again until it is approved. You know, I'm an accountant. I do a lot of taxes. I have a lot of respect for the government and how the tax process works. I don't respect abuse on it. You know, we are absolutely willing to remit any taxes for the year. We would happily provide you with any financial documentation. We had no intentions to operate illegally under you guys.
I appreciate that, but again, it goes back to you just admitted yourself that you got a refund. So you knew at that point in time that the application was dead.
I did not know. They actually, when I was served with the notice, I then contacted the city.
And when was that?
That was in July.
Of when?
Of 2018. I contacted the city, and then they told me, yes, we refunded your money 60 days later. And that was something I just missed on my credit card statement. It's a $50 charge.
And then when was the last rental you did?
It was the day they notified us. We notified our renters. We refunded them their full money and told them they couldn't stay with us anymore. They had 5 more days to stay. We took it very seriously. We canceled all the rentals from there on.
Chairman Cherry? I'm prepared to make a motion to deny.
Please do, Commissioner Williams.
My motion is to deny.
There's a motion on the floor. Please cast your votes.
This is from 2017. What is in
And that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, that item will go forward and be heard as a part of the City Council agenda on 12/19 of 2018.
Thank you very much. Moving on to citizens' participation, number 34. Citizens' participation, public comment during this portion of this agenda may be limited to the matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. No subject may be acted upon by the Planning Commission unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come to the podium and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion of any single speaker, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. This is a notice of public hearing. One quick question I have for staff. When does the short-term residential or the rental ordinance come forward?
So, Mr. Chairman, so here's the status of the short-term rental ordinances. On December 5th, the City Council will have a public hearing on what is being called now the modified repeal. So that would be the repealing the owner-occupied short-term rental activity within single-family residential neighborhoods that aren't already licensed. So it would make it so that you could not request a special use permit going forward from whatever date council takes action for a short-term rental in a single-family neighborhood. At that same meeting on the 5th, that bill will be eligible for adoption if the council so chooses. And then there will be an additional bill introduced at the December 5th meeting to address short-term rentals in multifamily buildings, to set a limitation on the number of units within a multifamily building that may be rented for short-term rental purposes.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the update. That's all I had. Commissioner Rausch, I see your light on.
I just want to go on the record, as I said earlier, to say that I think it's really out of line and out of order for us to be hearing items on short-term rental when they're about to be either completely banned or, to be taking people's money as applicants and then be voting on them here, only to find that in a month or two, those folks may lose their licenses. I just think it's unfair, and I find it unconscionable. So I'm just going on the record to say that. I also want to go on the record to say that I think that, with all due respect to our planning staff and their good intentions, I think that these twice-a-month meetings have proven to be unnecessary and a huge waste of staff's time and our taxpayer dollars, and I would like to go back to the once-a-month format. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I might, I just need to make a clarification for the record, and since this is open to the public, at no time will anyone who is currently in the process, who's been licensed, who is currently having a special use permit for a short-term rental be rejected on the grounds of any code change. They will receive a hearing based on the code that was effective when their application was submitted, and it has been very clear by the council that anyone who currently has an approval, whether that's an existing license or an existing entitlement, will get to continue to operate their short-term rental. So nobody's license will be revoked as a result of those council actions at this time. So I just want to make that clear so it doesn't create any confusion for the public.
And just to be clear, could you please clarify for me, if somebody does apply in this current process, like the applicants that we had here tonight, we took their application fee, which was $1,000, something like that, and then if they're denied, they're out that money. If they're approved and then the city council decides to ban short-term rentals, they operate for a month or two and then they're revoked, correct?
Incorrect. They will not be revoked. If they are approved, meaning that they have an approved special use permit or they have an approved business license to operate a short-term rental, then they will become non-conforming and they get to continue to operate for as long as they operate and remain in good standing with the city, just like any other non-conforming use. So the action of City Council will not reverse any decision that this Planning Commission or the City Council has made or staff has made in previous licensing cases to take away anyone's current rights. It will just be if they cease to operate their short-term rental, they won't be able to get it again at some point in the future, just like any other activity that's been deemed to be made non-conforming by a code change.
So they would remain intact up to the point of that vote, and then that vote would be for whatever that new ordinance is. So as it stands right now, the current ordinance being considered does not retroactively remove or negate any currently approved STRs, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. So the ordinance as currently put before the City Council and based on the intent of the sponsor and multiple members of council in their comments is not to take away anyone's current entitlement or licensed operators. It's only to prevent any new short-term rentals in single-family residential where it's non-owner occupied. And that's another point of clarification. It's not a blanket repeal of short-term rentals in single-family. It would only allow them to continue if the owner of the property resides at the property and is renting out a room or two in their home.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else like to be heard? We will adjourn. Mr. Klein, would you like to say anything? No? We will adjourn the meeting. Thanks.